My fiance texted, "Don't freak out, but I'm sharing a hotel room with my coworker tonight. It's totally professional." My reply was simple. Great. Then you don't need my place anymore. Sup Reddit. My fiance texted me at 6:47 p.m. on an absolutely unremarkable Wednesday. The kind of Wednesday where you've already accepted that the week is a lost cause, settled into your couch, and started assembling the pulled pork nachos you'd been fantasizing about since Monday morning. The smoker had been going for 8 hours. The cheese was freshly shredded. Life was simple. Then my phone buzzed. Don't freak out, but I'm sharing a hotel room with my coworker tonight, just to save money. It's totally professional. I read that message maybe 2 times. Don't freak out. Sharing a hotel room. Coworker. Totally professional. Each phrase landing like a separate gut punch, delivered by someone who'd clearly rehearsed the combo. Here's something you need to understand about me. I'm not the jealous fiancé archetype. Never checked her phone like some paranoid lunatic. Never demanded explanations when she came home late. Trust either exists or it doesn't, and I'd spent 2.5 years operating under the assumption that it did. We were engaged. Ring on her finger, venue ideas saved, guest list started. But that text wasn't about trust. That text was about basic respect, and she just incinerated 29 months of it with 43 words. The coworker in question was Brennan. Brennan with the teeth whitening and the CrossFit obsession and the Instagram full of shirtless hiking photos. Brennan who always seemed to find reasons to text her at 10 p.m. about work emergencies. Brennan who she swore was basically like a brother babe. You're being paranoid. I'd met him exactly once at her company's holiday party. He spent the entire conversation talking to her chest while shaking my hand. Real quality human being, that one. I set down my plate, turned off the game, and typed back 3 words. Works for me. Then I added, your stuff will be waiting at the front desk. Since you're staying somewhere else tonight, I'll drop your things where you'll be. We can coordinate anything else later. Let me rewind and give you the full picture here. I, 32 male, and my fiancée Senna, 29 female, met at a mutual friend's engagement party. She knocked my drink out of my hand reaching for the same appetizer, laughed like it was the funniest thing that had ever happened, and gave me her number before I could even pretend to be smooth about asking for it. Year 1 was legitimately great. She was spontaneous in ways that felt exciting rather than exhausting. The kind of person who'd suggest driving 3 hours to catch a band neither of us had heard of, and somehow make it the best night of the month. I fell hard. The dangerous kind of hard where you start rearranging your entire existence around another person's preferences without even noticing you're doing it. Then she moved into my condo, the one I'd bought 2 years before we met. The one with the workshop space in the shared garage and the balcony where I kept my smoker. And slowly, things started to shift. The spontaneity became instability. The late-night conversations became arguments about why I spent money on useless hobbies like woodworking. The woman who'd seemed so easygoing developed opinions about everything. My friends were immature. My truck was embarrassing. The way I seasoned cast iron was obsessive. My dog was too needy. But I adapted. That's what you do when you love someone, right? You compromise. Looking back now, the red flags were neon signs I'd trained myself to ignore. The phone that always faced down on tables. She probably expected me to lose my mind. Most guys would. They'd call 40 times, demand answers, maybe drive to whatever hotel she was at, and cause a scene that would give her ammunition for the next decade of my crazy ex stories. Not me. My condo was quiet as I walked through the rooms taking inventory. My condo, not our condo. Her name was nowhere on the deed. Never had been. She stayed here, but was never added as an authorized occupant, never put a bill in her name, and her legal address was still her mom's. The property management company required formal application to add authorized occupants, and we never completed that process before the engagement. Before I changed anything, I called the property manager and confirmed she wasn't an authorized occupant and had no lease rights here. 10-minute conversation. He checked the records, confirmed what I already knew, and told me I was within my rights to handle my guest situation however I needed to. I grabbed the first moving box. Her clothes came first. The closet had expanded from 1 rod to 3. Dresses, blouses, athleisure wear that costs more than actual athletic equipment. All of it went into boxes. I wasn't angry. Anger makes you careless. I was calm, methodical. The bathroom was an archaeological dig. 17 bottles I couldn't pronounce. Hair tools that required their own power strip. Makeup organized in clear acrylic towers. I even found the curling iron she'd accused my sister of stealing at Thanksgiving. Behind the toilet tank, covered in dust, forgotten the moment she could blame someone else. I took photos, made lists, Taped every box. This wasn't revenge. It was making sure nobody could twist the story later. Every box labeled. Nothing damaged, nothing missing. By 9:30 p.m., I'd erased every trace of her. 4 boxes, 2 suitcases, 1 duffel crammed with bathroom products, a garment bag, even her coffee maker, the one she'd insisted I buy because mine was embarrassing, wrapped in bubble wrap on top. My phone had buzzed 6 times during the packing. I checked them now while settling back on the couch. Are you seriously going to be weird about this? It's literally just business. Grow up. My phone's dying. Can you call me? Hello? You're being childish. Fine. Be like that. We'll talk tomorrow. We would not, in fact, be talking tomorrow, or any day after that. By 10 p.m., my living room looked like a staging area for a particularly efficient moving company. Everything organized by category, labeled clearly, ready for transport. I grabbed my keys and started loading my truck. 4 trips. That's how long it took to remove every physical piece of her from my life. 4 trips between my condo and my F-150, each load lighter than the last. Not physically, emotionally. I typed the hotel address into my GPS. The Westin downtown, about 35 minutes away. She'd mentioned it once during one of those early business trips, before I knew what business trips actually meant. The company always books the Westin for regional conferences. The beds are actually incredible. I'd nodded and not thought twice about it. Now I wondered how many conferences had involved Brennan's incredible presence in those incredible beds. The drive was meditative. The Westin was exactly the kind of place I expected. Glass and steel, and the generic corporate elegance that whispers, "Your company is paying $400 a night for this." Nobody looked twice at the guy pushing a luggage cart stacked with boxes through the service entrance. The front desk clerk was a woman in her 50s, with reading glasses on a chain, and the patient expression of someone who'd seen every possible human drama unfold in hotel lobbies for 3 decades. Her name tag said, Mary Ann. She looked up as I approached with my cart. "Checking in, sir?" I smiled. Friendly but tired. "Actually, I'm dropping off belongings for a guest. My fiancé's staying here tonight. Work conference." She asked me to bring some things she forgot. Mary Ann's eyes flicked to the cart. 4 boxes, 2 suitcases, a duffel, a garment bag. The kind of forgot some things that suggests someone forgot their entire life. Guest's name? Senna. She typed, clicked, raised an eyebrow at whatever her screen showed. Room 847. Would you like me to have someone notify the room? That would be perfect. Could you call up and let her know her things have arrived? Absolutely. Is there a message? Just tell her the delivery is complete. She's all set. I wasn't asking them to babysit her life, just to call the room and tell her her stuff was at the desk. I handed Mary Ann 2 20s for whoever hauled it up, left my number in case of questions, and walked back out into the cold night air. The whole interaction took 4 minutes. Professional, efficient, just like her totally professional hotel room situation. The drive home felt like the first day of vacation. Empty truck bed, empty passenger seat, empty head. The locksmith was waiting when I pulled up. Didn't ask questions when I explained I needed same-night service. Just nodded, quoted me $250 for front door plus garage entry, and got to work. While he worked, I made myself useful. Walked through the rooms with fresh eyes, looking for anything I'd missed. Found a single earring in the nightstand drawer. A hair tie behind the bathroom door. A sticky note on the fridge in her handwriting that said, Dentist Tuesday, with a phone number I didn't recognize. Tossed it all. Then I found the iPad. She'd left it wedged between couch cushions. It was my iPad she'd been using for months. Still logged in. Notifications were popping like a confession. 4 months. 4 months of messages between her and Brennan. Detailed plans for meetups. Screenshots of my text that she'd sent him with crying, laughing emojis, and comments like, "He actually believes me, LMAO." Photos I wish I could unload from my brain. Timestamps that lined up with every single late client dinner and team building event and conference that runs through the weekend. There was a whole thread from 3 weeks ago where they discussed whether I was too stupid to notice or just doesn't care enough to check. Brennan had responded with, "Either way works for us, LOL." I screenshot everything. All 4 months. Saved it to 3 different cloud accounts. Every conversation, every photo, every mocking comment came with a timestamp. I saved it all. Then the factory reset the iPad and went back inside to pour myself a soda. The locksmith finished around midnight, handed me the new keys. I slept like the dead that night. No 3 a.m. bathroom runs where she'd leave every light on. No alarm she'd snooze 7 times before dramatically sighing herself awake. Just darkness and silence, and the kind of rest you forget is possible when you're sharing your bed with chaos. At 6:23 a.m., my phone started vibrating like it was having a seizure. I watched from across the room, let it buzz, counted the calls like sheep. By number 8, I put it on silent and went back to sleep. Whatever she needed to say could wait. I'd waited almost 2 years for rent money. She could wait a few hours for a callback. When I finally checked at 8:30, the damage was impressive. 41 missed calls, 27 texts, 4 voicemails. She'd been busy. The texts read like watching someone cycle through the 5 stages of grief in real time, compressed into 6 hours of increasingly unhinged messages. First came confusion. What the heck is happening? Why is all my stuff at the front desk? Call me immediately. Then denial. This has to be some kind of joke. You can't be serious right now. Then bargaining. I'm outside, let me in. We need to talk about this like adults. You're overreacting. Then anger. You changed the locks? Are you insane? I live here. This is illegal. I'm calling the police. Then desperation. Please, 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 please. I can explain everything. It's not what you think. Just let me in. I'm freezing. I scrolled through them while drinking my coffee. My reply was brief. You said you were staying at a hotel. I helped make it permanent. Her call came 4 seconds later. I let it ring twice before answering. You absolute psychopath. Her voice was that particular frequency of controlled hysteria. The sound of someone realizing their backup plan just exploded. I said one night. You cannot just throw me out. You don't live here anymore, I said calmly. You made alternative arrangements. I respected your decision. It was for work, a conference, with colleagues. If your company needed overnight accommodations, they'd cover separate rooms. Instead, you chose to share one with Brennan. That's a choice, Senna. One with consequences. Long pause. I could practically hear her recalculating. Where am I supposed to go? Seems like you already figured that out. She screamed something about getting help and hung up. By 10 a.m., reinforcements had been deployed. Her support network activated like some kind of rapid response team for women who'd fumbled the bag and couldn't believe they weren't getting a second chance. Her mother called first. We'd interacted maybe 6 times in 2.5 years, each encounter confirming that the manipulation gene ran strong in that bloodline. Same circular arguments, same selective memory, same fundamental inability to comprehend that actions might have consequences. You cruel, horrible man, she opened without preamble. Throwing my daughter into the street in the middle of winter. I always knew you were no good. I told her from the beginning. Your daughter texted me that she'd be sharing a hotel room with her coworker. I delivered her belongings to that location. Seemed like the helpful thing to do. She made one little mistake. She made a choice. For 4 months, actually. I have the messages. What messages? Ask her. I'm sure she'll be happy to explain. You're legally required to give her 30 days notice. My brother is a realtor and he says your brother can look into tenant law if he wants. But she was never on the lease, never added as an authorized occupant, never paid rent, never contributed to utilities or groceries or the mortgage. Her legal address was still your house, according to her license and bank statements. She was a guest who decided to stay elsewhere. There's nothing to discuss. She called me several names that would have made a sailor blush, threatened various forms of social destruction, then hung up to presumably coordinate the next assault. Half an hour later, unknown number. Bro, Brennan's voice. Smug, the tone of someone who still hadn't processed that his perfect little arrangement had just detonated. That was pretty messed up, what you did. What was messed up, I said evenly, was messing around with my fiancée for 4 months while I paid her rent. How's Mallory handling the news? Silence. That's what I thought. See, the iPad she was using was still synced to everything. I've got 4 months of messages. Every plan. Every joke about how stupid I was. Every photo. Want me to start forwarding things? His girlfriend. Mallory. We'd met at the same holiday party where Brennan had introduced himself to Senna's cleavage. She'd seemed sweet, kind, the type who brought homemade cookies to office potlucks. Didn't deserve this. Come on, man. The smugness was gone. Don't do that. Let's be reasonable. Then don't call me again. She's your problem now. Enjoy. I hung up. Then texted Mallory. Hey, this is awkward, but we should probably talk. You free for coffee? She responded in about 40 seconds. Something's going on with Brennan. He's being super weird. What happened? Better to explain in person. Starbucks on 5th? Noon? I'll be there. That gave me a few hours before the next phase of this saga unfolded. At 11:15 a.m., Senna escalated. A knock on my door, followed by a voice I didn't recognize. Sir, police department. Need to speak with you. I opened the door to find a uniformed officer standing next to Senna, who had assembled her most convincing victim presentation, tears threatening to spill, lower lip doing that manufactured quiver, wrapped in a coat I'd bought her for Christmas last year, ring still on her finger, probably for sympathy points, really committed to the performance. The officer looked like he'd already handled 6 of these calls before lunch. Sir, this woman says you illegally evicted her without notice. She claims to be a resident. Can you explain the situation? Happy to. I kept my voice cooperative. She texted me yesterday evening saying she'd be staying at a hotel with her coworker. I confirmed that arrangement and packed her belongings so she could coordinate pickup. She's never been on the lease, never added as an authorized occupant, never paid rent, never established legal residency. Her license still lists her mother's address. I can show you the text if you'd like. He didn't care who slept with who. He cared if she had legal residency and whether this was about to become a hallway problem. Senna's arms uncrossed. I have mail that comes here. She's had packages delivered. So has Amazon. That doesn't make Jeff Bezos a tenant. I pulled up my phone. Here's her text from last night. Don't freak out, but I'm sharing a hotel room with my coworker tonight. And here's my response confirming the delivery arrangement. I let him read the exchange. His expression shifted from official concern to the subtle eye roll of someone who'd been called out on a domestic issue that wasn't actually his problem. He turned back to Senna with noticeably less sympathy. Ma'am, you voluntarily chose to stay elsewhere, and he facilitated that decision. This appears to be a civil matter. If you believe you have tenant rights, you'll need to pursue that through the courts. Do you have documentation showing you're on the lease or have established legal residency at this address? But I have nowhere to go. The tears were flowing now. Probably real ones, for the first time since this started. He can't just do this to me. That's not my determination to make, ma'am. Based on what I'm seeing, this is a dispute between 2 people in a relationship, not a criminal matter. The officer nodded at me professionally. Have a good day, sir. Ma'am, I'd suggest looking into your options if you want to pursue this further. Senna stood in the parking area, watching him drive away. When she turned back to me, the tears had evaporated, replaced by something closer to her actual face. You planned this. You were just waiting for an excuse. I was waiting for you to give me a reason. You gave me 4 months of them. I was going to end it with Brennan. I was going to tell you everything. When? After the next conference? After the one after that? You're supposed to fight for us. That's what men do. They fight for their relationships. No, Senna. Weak men beg. Smart men replace. You chose a hotel room with Brennan over a home with me. Now you get to live with that choice. Something flickered across her face. Recognition, maybe. The slow, dawning realization that her backup plan didn't have a backup. You'll regret this. Within a month, you'll be calling me, wanting me back. I smiled. Sweetheart, I replaced your coffee maker an hour after I dropped your boxes off. You think I'm going to miss you more than a Mr. Coffee? I closed the door, locked it with my new keys, went back to my cold coffee and the satisfaction of watching someone finally face the consequences they'd been dodging for years. Noon couldn't come fast enough. Mallory was already at Starbucks when I arrived. Corner table, untouched latte in front of her, the expression of someone who already suspected what I was going to say, but was hoping desperately to be wrong. She wasn't wrong. I sat down. No small talk. No dancing around the crater in the middle of the room. Just handed her my phone. Scroll through. Take your time. She did. I watched her face go through the same journey mine had taken 36 hours earlier. Confusion. Recognition. The slow crumbling of something she'd built her future on. By the time she reached the end of the screenshots, her hands were shaking and she'd stopped trying to hide it. How long? Barely a whisper. Based on the messages, at least 4 months. Probably longer before they started putting it in writing. She set the phone down, stared at the table like it might offer answers. Then, quietly, she started laughing. Not happy laughter. The kind that sounds like it might turn into screaming if given half a chance. 4 months. He proposed to me 3 months ago. I've been planning our wedding. Venue tours, dress shopping, everything. She looked up at me with something broken in her eyes. I put down a deposit on a venue last week. Non-refundable. I'm sorry. For what it's worth, you didn't deserve this. Neither did you. She paused. What did you do? Packed her stuff. Delivered it to the hotel she'd chosen. Changed the locks. Canceled every account she'd been using. Mallory nodded slowly. Processing. Calculating. Our apartment's in both our names. 13 months left on the lease. Sublet is half. Or explain the situation to your landlord. Bring documentation. Most of them would rather work with you than deal with the mess of forcing two hostile people to cohabitate. And if he won't leave, then make his life uncomfortable until he does. Cancel any shared accounts. Remove your things to a safe location. Stop cooking, stop cleaning, stop doing anything that benefits him. Men like Brennan need someone taking care of them. The moment that stops, they find somewhere else to be. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up with something like steel in her eyes. Can I have those screenshots? Sure. Her smile was small but real. You're a good guy. She was stupid. So was he, for what it's worth. We talked for another hour. Not about the mess we'd both been handed. About normal things. Her job in advertising. My work in logistics. The hiking trails she'd been wanting to explore. The woodworking projects I'd been neglecting. Real conversation with someone who actually listened to the answers. By the time we left, she'd already drafted a text to her sister, asking if she could crash for a few days while she figured out next steps. Thanks for telling me, she said as we walked to our cars. Most guys wouldn't bother. Most guys don't have their fiancé's affair partner dating someone who deserved better. Seemed like we had a common interest in the truth getting out. She hugged me. Brief but genuine. The kind of hug that says, we're both going through something terrible, but at least we're not alone in it. If you need anything, she said. Seriously. Same goes. And don't let him make you feel like this was your fault. Some people are just broken in ways that have nothing to do with us. She got in her car, wiped her eyes, and drove toward whatever came next. I hoped it was better than what she was leaving behind. That evening, my phone became a notification apocalypse. The ripple effects were spreading faster than I'd anticipated. 4 missed calls from Brennan, deleted without listening. A Facebook message from Senna's sister calling me everything from a sociopath to a narcissist, to words I'm pretty sure she invented specifically for the occasion. Blocked. An email from someone claiming to be Senna's cousin who was basically a paralegal threatening action. I forwarded it to my property manager with a note that said, handle this if necessary. And then, the main event, Senna had posted a dissertation-length rant on Facebook. I pulled it up on my laptop with leftover nachos, settling in for the show. The post was a masterpiece of selective truth-telling. After almost 3 years together, my fiancé threw me out without warning, changed the locks while I was at a work conference, dumped my belongings at a hotel like I was trash. No discussion, no chance to explain, nothing. To anyone reading this, be careful who you trust. The quiet ones are the most dangerous. They pretend to love you while planning your destruction. I gave him everything, supported him through hard times. Was there when no one else was? This is what I got in return. A lesson learned. My heart is broken, but my spirit isn't. Ladies, please learn from my mistake. The comments rolled in like a support group gone viral. Her friends, her family, complete strangers with nothing better to do, all tripping over themselves to express outrage on her behalf. The usual chorus. What a monster. You deserve so much better, Queen. Men are literally garbage. Stay strong. I never liked him anyway. The red flags were always there. I let it marinate for 2 hours. Let her collect her sympathy. Let her feel victorious. Let her think she'd controlled the narrative. Then I posted one reply. One screenshot. Her original text to me. Don't freak out, but I'm sharing a hotel room with my coworker tonight. Just to save money. It's totally professional. No caption. Just the truth. Sitting there like an unexploded bomb. Within 30 minutes, the tide was turning. Questions started popping up in the comments. Wait, why were you sharing a hotel room? That seems kind of sketchy. What kind of conference requires sharing rooms with coworkers? Within an hour, her own friends were connecting dots they'd apparently missed. Isn't Brennan that guy you're always talking about? Didn't you say he was just a work friend? By 10 p.m., she deleted the entire post. But screenshots of the original and the comments had already spread. The narrative was out of her control now. She'd tried to make me the villain. All I had to do to prove otherwise was show exactly what she'd said. The next few weeks were like watching a controlled demolition in slow motion. Every day brought new developments, new consequences. 2 days after everything exploded, Brennan's engagement officially ended. Mallory moved out while he was at work, taking everything that was hers and a few things that technically weren't, but she felt she deserved as compensation for emotional damages. She left a printout of the screenshots on his pillow with a post-it note that said, "Enjoy the conference." The non-refundable venue deposit? She called them, explained the situation, and somehow convinced them to transfer the reservation to a charity auction. No refund, but no wedding either. And everyone who'd been invited eventually heard why. The next day, word detonated at their office. Turns out corporate environments are just high school with better health insurance. Nobody needed printouts. Office gossip runs on boredom and keyboards. Mallory had friends in the same building, and the story spread through their company, like wildfire through dry brush. By noon, everyone from interns to executives knew about the guy from accounting and the girl from sales who got caught on a business trip. HR opened an investigation. Suddenly, all those totally professional hotel stays were being reviewed by people with access to expense reports. Within days, Senna got reassigned. Their company had policies about workplace relationships creating hostile environments. Sleeping with a colleague while both parties are engaged or in relationships apparently qualifies when the entire office is gossiping about it, and HR has a stack of complaints about uncomfortable work conditions. She wasn't fired, too messy officially. Instead, she got transferred to a satellite office 40 minutes outside the city, handling accounts nobody cared about. Same salary, none of the prestige, and a commute that would eat 2 hours of her day. A demotion in everything but paperwork. Around this time, I got a call from my neighbor. Apparently, Senna had tried to get into my condo while I was at work. Rang the doorbell repeatedly. Walked around to the balcony. Tried the garage door. When my neighbor asked what she was doing, she claimed she left important documents inside and was officially allowed to retrieve them. I called her exactly once to address this. If you come to my property again without permission, I'll file for a restraining order and submit the 4 months of messages as evidence of harassment. Try me. The ring situation resolved itself about a week later. I'd given her a family heirloom, my grandmother's engagement ring that had been passed down, worth more in sentiment than money, but still not something I was leaving with someone who disrespected everything it represented. I sent one text through her sister since Senna had been blocked everywhere else. Simple message: ring needs to be returned within 48 hours or I'm filing a police report for theft of family property. Her choice. She returned it through a mutual friend 2 days after I sent the message. Guess when you're already dealing with HR investigations and office humiliation, adding a police report about stealing jewelry seemed like poor strategy. Not long after, I had coffee with someone new. Not Mallory. We'd become friendly, but she was dealing with her own reconstruction. This was different. Her name was Vera, friend of a friend. We'd met briefly at a cookout 6 months ago, exchanged numbers, but never followed up because I was in a relationship, and she respected that. Well, I wasn't anymore. Vera was the exact opposite of everything I'd spent 2.5 years accepting. Direct where Senna was manipulative. Calm where Senna was chaotic. Actually interested in my answers when she asked questions. She knew how to smoke a brisket and thought my truck was exactly what a truck should be. We talked for 3 hours without a single awkward silence. The aftermath continued unfolding around me while something new quietly began. Brennan transferred to a different division after his work situation became untenable. His LinkedIn updated a month later, with a new company in a different state entirely, running from his reputation and the expense report investigation that had uncovered some creative accounting around those business trips. Senna's social situation imploded. The friends who'd initially rallied around her sympathy post started hearing other perspectives. The coworkers who'd consoled her began noticing how she talked about the situation. The party invitations dried up. Her Instagram went from daily posts to silence. I heard from a mutual friend that she'd tried to reconnect with her ex-boyfriend from before me, the one she'd left because he was going nowhere. Apparently, he'd gone somewhere nice since then. Got a master's degree, started a company, got engaged to someone else, told her good luck, and blocked her number. Karma keeps receipts but didn't stop here. 4 months later, I ran into her. Not by design, just the universe's sense of dark comedy at work. I was leaving a restaurant downtown with Vera after an excellent dinner. She was walking in with someone I didn't recognize. New guy, probably. Current victim. She looked different. Tired in a way that wasn't just physical. The confidence that had radiated off her when we first met was gone, replaced by something smaller. Something desperate around the edges. The designer clothes had been replaced with whatever she was wearing now. I didn't look closely enough to register details. She spotted me. Spotted Vera. Registered our interlocked hands. The way Vera was laughing at something I'd said. The way we looked like a couple who actually enjoyed each other's company. And that's when she completely lost it. Are you kidding me right now? Her voice came out shrill enough to turn heads in the parking lot. The new guy beside her looked confused, trying to figure out what was happening. You moved on? With her? I kept walking. Vera's hand tightened slightly in mine, but she didn't break stride. Senna followed us. Actually followed us across the parking lot, her date trailing behind, looking increasingly uncomfortable. We were together for years. Years. And you just replaced me like I'm nothing? You replaced yourself, I said, without stopping or turning around. That's not fair. You know Brennan pursued me. You know I was confused. I made one mistake, and you just throw away everything we had? The new guy was starting to piece things together. His expression shifted from confused to concerned to slowly backing away. One mistake? Vera's voice was calm, almost amused. Sweetie, 4 months is a lifestyle choice, not a mistake. That set Senna off even more. She lunged forward, not physically, but with the kind of aggressive energy that comes right before physical, and jabbed a finger at Vera. You don't even know him. You don't know what we had. You're just some rebound who thinks she's special. Okay, I'm gonna go. The new guy was already pulling out his phone, probably calling an Uber. Yeah, no. Good luck with whatever this is. Don't you dare leave! Senna spun on him, but he was already walking away at a brisk pace. We had plans tonight. We were supposed to... Lady, you're clearly not over your ex. Figure that out first. He didn't even look back. Senna watched him disappear into the restaurant, then whirled back to us. Her eyes were wild now, makeup starting to run. The carefully constructed facade completely shattered. This is your fault. She was pointing at me now. You made me feel like this. You pushed me away. You were always working, always focused on your boring life, and I needed more. And you got it, I said. Congratulations. I didn't mean for it to end like this. I thought we could work it out. I thought after some time apart, you'd realize what? That I should take back someone who spent 4 months lying to my face? Who sent screenshots of my text to her affair partner so they could laugh at me together? That's your version of working it out? People were definitely watching now. A small audience had gathered near the restaurant entrance. Senna didn't notice or didn't care. I was going to tell you. I was planning to end it with Brennan. I just needed time to figure out how. 4 months wasn't enough time to figure out, hey, I should stop having sex with someone who isn't my boyfriend? Her face went red. Then she turned on Vera. You think you're so perfect? You think you're better than me? You're just keeping his bed warm until he gets bored. That's what he does. He gets bored. Vera looked at her with the kind of pity you'd give a raccoon trying to fight its reflection in a window. I'm gonna wait in the truck, babe. She kissed my cheek and walked away. Senna watched her go with something between rage and desperation. Don't walk away from me. She was crying now. Full mascara-streaked breakdown in a restaurant parking lot. You think you know him? You think he's changed? He'll do the same thing to you. He'll make you feel crazy for wanting attention. I never made you feel crazy. You did that yourself when you decided spending 4 months lying was easier than having one honest conversation. I loved you! The words came out as a shriek. Several people near the restaurant visibly cringed. No, you loved what I did for you. There's a difference. She grabbed my arm. Actually grabbed it. Her nails dug in through my jacket. Please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can start over. I'll do anything. Anything. I pulled my arm free. You had anything. You traded it for Brennan and a bunch of screenshots. That trade is final. She's not even pretty. Senna was fully unhinged now. She's not even your type. I know your type, and that's not it. My type is someone who doesn't cheat on me. Turns out that opens up a lot of options. If you walk away right now, I will make your life miserable. I will blow up your phone. I will show up at your house. I will make sure everyone knows what you did to me. Post it on Facebook. Tag me. Add photos. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Behind me, I heard Vera start the truck. You're really going to choose her over me? Over everything we had? Over years together? Yep, you'll regret this. When she leaves you, and she will, you'll come crawling back and I won't be there. Perfect. I walked to the truck. Got in. Vera was trying not to smile. Well, that was entertaining. She always did know how to make an exit. We drove past Senna, who was still standing in the parking lot, crying and yelling something I couldn't hear through the closed windows. In the rearview mirror, I watched her get smaller and smaller until she was just another stranger having a bad night. When I got home, Vera was on the couch with a book, exactly where she'd settled after we'd processed the parking lot circus. She looked up as I came back from putting the groceries away. You think she'll actually show up at your place? Let her try. The security camera will make great content. 3 months after that, Vera and I adopted a dog. A rescue mutt named Copper with one floppy ear and the kind of face that makes you smile even when you're having a terrible day. The condo felt complete in a way it never had before. 6 months later, we were engaged. No drama, no games, just two people who'd found each other at the right time and decided not to mess it up. Turns out the best revenge is living well while your ex has a public meltdown in a restaurant parking lot that costs her both a relationship and whatever dignity she walked in with. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.